Hello, and welcome back to Week 10's Letter to Past Self. So, this week, I decided to go over the weekend to construct and create two of the levels that we needed for the game. The two levels that I decided to do was the ones that had share the same scenes to reduce the amount of work that I needed to do, but also allowing myself to not spend too much time transferring the script to to the game, because for me it's a lot harder and a lot more difficult to write and understand flowing through text and narrative-ish things. I understand what makes a good narrative, but I'm really bad at writing a good narrative, so it makes it very difficult. So for the scenes that I chose, these were levels that I did not design, but Ava designed, and I was transferring them from what she imagined the foresty looking areas to be like. This was interesting to learn and to understand how someone else would think on when designing maps. For me, when I was designing the maps, briefly touched on last week, is I was thinking of fully designing the areas where circling points in which this is where this particular moment would happen was happening. I didn't know when designing the levels in where the text would appear. I would wait until I got to the actual scene built in Unity because I can't picture that until I get there. But writing the script shouldn't impact me implementing the levels themselves, and this was what I was focusing on. So when I was doing the levels and stuff, I decided to create very gray box versions of this, where I would map out all the different things that I wanted, and I didn't understand how terrain systems would work in Unity. So I asked Kirby kindly to implement what my gray box looking area is into a fully stylized version, and he understood it and implemented it and implemented the game from Ava's design to from my Greybox design into what is now basically a semi-final version of the game of Waldo scenes. This process didn't take too long when designing implementing the levels. It was pretty clear to understand in which how Ava was understanding when creating it, but I decided instead of making all the different scenes that she wanted to implement into that one scene, to just chop it down to the particular areas that I need, which was the pond and the little campfire area. We also added a cliff because we wanted to add something to it to like make it look less like a flat plain and more like a mountainy area. And typically, when people camp, it's either in a massive plain or next to a cliff. And that was really interesting and fun to do. When I was implementing the text from the script that uh, either I or Ava pre-wrote, I was thinking of how do I just get the text in there to see how it looks and feels. When I first did the two areas, I immediately understood the fact that my fire scene was really boring because all you would do is stand there and the text would appear over the campfire. And I knew from reading it that it wasn't very intuitive. So later that week, after the script got a little bit reviewed, I changed it so where you start from the car and walk towards the fire, and the text was going between where the child was standing, being the child's text, and to where the player is when walking. And I felt this was a more better and better way of showcasing the two different texts, that this is the child that's speaking and this is the parent that's speaking, because at this point we didn't have a font or to represent the two different texts. We just had different colors, and many people found it was confusing uh, to understand what it is. Also, this week, I wrote a complete script of the game, and based upon this was this was all based. Also, this week, I wrote the rest of the past scenes in the script. I didn't write all the different things, but the majority of the core. I didn't write the post or the pre-conversation because I wanted to be reviewed so then I could have a better understanding of what this entire message and meaning is, because Aaron said that he would look at it and try to make it a clearer and more one voice argument, which was kind of helping with how Ava was writing. I was failing at this point to read Ava's work and reviewing it to make sure that it was like mine. Anyway, when I was writing the script, I felt that I didn't know exactly how to do it, and I didn't get good enough like ideas, and wasn't confident in my writing. So I went and looked up a video by Leighton Gray, which is how to write how to write games for for the internet without embarrassing yourself. In this lecture, it talks a lot about how you can incorporate writing memes into your game without looking like you're trying to be hip with the kids. She used a particular writing style, well, not writing style, but a philosophy called meta modernism, which is more about based around the internet and using irony to detract with sincerity and engagement. She used this to her advantage, where she took this, and I was analyzing the game and when writing it, and tried to use a Trojan horse kind of strategy in which the outside of it is this is supposed to be ironic and relatable and funny and cute, where like she's using people to create and construct their own memes, as well as clearly defining each character as themselves, but letting people to understand and create their own personalities based upon what she wrote. And then she put really nice and warm stories into this game by hiding it with the fact of, it's Dream Daddies. They have eggplants flying out every single time you do something right. She was allowing people to fall in love with the idea and then hit them with motion and feels. I felt that this really helped me when it came to writing and stuff, and made me understand that I should try to embrace writing a little bit embarrassingly, because it could lead to being humorous as well as understanding a lot better personality wise into the game. So yeah, when I try to finish writing that as quickly as I could, and yeah, when I was selecting on which past or present one to write between me and Ava as our two designers, I decided kind of quickly to write in the past, only because of the fact that I wasn't really confident in my writing, because of two reasons. One, of my expressive communication issues, as well as it takes a very long time for me to get passionate about writing or even reading, and it takes a lot out of me. So I was really and the past scenes were designed to be really short quips of understanding the lesson and meaning and emotion that each one of these were going to have. So it was very easy for me to write small amounts of text. Anyway, that's the end of this week's Letter to Past Self. Thank you for listening, and I will see you guys next week, where we talk more about finishing off the levels, because I have only finished basically two or three of the levels at this point, where I finished the car packing scene, as well as oh yes, the car scene, and two of the past scenes. I had to wait until some other scenes were being completed and done before I can start editing particular other scenes. Anyway, goodbye. Have a great Saturday.